I was watching Kaiser Report, and they were talking about generation of new wealth, where new wealth comes from, and he was saying that it mostly comes from innovations that happen in the factory floor. Like a company is already making widgets, and then they come up with a new manufacturing technique or some research that finally finds its way into the manufacturing process. But it's important to for somebody who's thinking about economy to see what is actually wealth, what constitutes prosperity, not in terms of the dollars or level of income or all the indicators or barometers, but in more general term that are meaningful, that are not just some like, old economist metrics. Well, one of them is the ability to manufacture and also the ability to bring research that's already out there and you don't have to pay for it, bring that research in and make fantastic new products. Or well, I think another form of wealth is the when in a society economic relations are not frozen like they are in the United States in something that existed in the past, like in the 50s or 60s. We have like upper class or large corporations or the owners of these large corporations, and whatever new money or resources comes in, these guys quickly allocate it to themselves, and the rich becomes richer, and all the, then it's like a hopeless case because the new wealth it doesn't find its way into the general population. Well, I was watching also the news that they were talking that in Argentine, their currency pesos like collapsed 40-50% in one day, and this is also can happen in the United States because their banking system and their bourgeoisie, their rich, they have taken every step to isolate themselves from real economic processes and real economic concerns or even bad news. Well, I was watching Gregory Mannarino, and he was saying that there are so much bad news has come in into the stock market, but the stock market keeps increasing in value. All the stocks are appreciating, but in the past, where there was real free market, the free market will react to bad news, and the stocks or bonds they will drop, or things will happen naturally because it was sensitive to the real world event. But then in the United States and some countries, they just keep publishing money or giving zero interest rate loans to these corporations, and they buy their own shares and pump up the price of the stocks, or the plunge protection comes in and buys just a whole bunch of bonds and stocks. It's like a floor under the stock market or the bond market, and it can never collapse because the central bank will keep pumping the money. But then when a system is so insulated from reality, what will happen is that the currency will collapse because at U.S. system, economic system, or the stock market is not a universe unto itself. At some point, it has to interact with the outside world, and if the outside world thinks that everything is very overpriced, and this is that the U.S. system is really a communist system, then they will reprice the U.S. currency or Argentine currency. They won't show an interest, or they will not use it, and then that will ricochet into the whole market or into the whole society, and then everybody will anybody's work or product will be repriced to 40% or 50% of what they're getting right now. That's very sad, and many good analysts, they know this, and they keep trying to warn the Americans, but uh, I don't think it's working. Everybody is so addicted and used to cheap money and things as they're going. They can't really fathom that hey, this can really backfire. This can end. Uh, in math, some processes, some equations, they they kind of creep up on you. They are initially they look at like a small amount, but the geometric progressions have a way of progressing very overwhelmingly, and things will get out of hand. I think that we are having crashes all the time in the stock market, in the bonds market, but these central bank, they come and wash it over with the cheap money or quantitative easing. But also another form of wealth is when money is able to seep into the real economic processes. When the little guy is able to access loans or access money to do real economic growth or produce real stuff, and also when a network grows, like say there is Facebook or social media, and it achieves acceptance in a huge market, then there is a network effect. The network effect is really the wealth that we have right now. You could really see it's not manufacturing wealth, or it's not wealth that's coming from research, but when a lot of people adopt a platform, then that's a form of wealth. I don't know if Facebook published their cryptocurrency, then maybe their lira or their coin would be as valuable as the US dollar. I mean, that depends if the company becomes despotic and they interfere in foreign commerce, or they do the stupid things that the U.S. Central Bank does. But if they don't, and the lira could become as valuable or as widespread use, well, every philosopher has a style of reasoning going. Well, my way is looking at some anecdotal or things that people don't really look at it, or incident or a problem, and then kind of see how that is in a general flow of society. That that's really a trend. Well, I was sending money to someone that I know, and the money was destined to United States. But I had written a note because, and this note had to do with the family ties in Iran. And so I used the word in the PayPal. I used the word Iran and relative what you should do. I guess these people they're related to me. Anyhow, the I didn't know the PayPal is very much regulated by U.S. intelligence services, and they came in and looked at this note, and they kind of thought, hey, this money might be going to Iran. Even though we had many discussions with them that hey, this money didn't go to Iran. Anyhow, well, they kind of confiscated the money for a short period of time, or I don't know if they'll release it. So, similar to what happened with the tanker seizure, is like the government is really extending itself or extending its tentacles into even very small economic transactions, and even companies that are not owned or operated by United States, they are they, they have to operate in here, and they are susceptible to manipulation of their different regulatory or spying agencies. Anyhow, the money got confiscated for a while, and then maybe they'll release it or not. I might have to go and give other monies to kind of compensate for it, so things will not shut down. But the fact that the government or the intelligence agencies or their personnel are interfering in relations, economic relations, or that in all levels, even companies that are not owned by United States, or people who are doing business with each other that has nothing to do with these idiots. This itself is a form of negative wealth or negative influence that damages wealth generation or economic processes. Well, if you don't feel free and you're always afraid of Big Brother, then that kind of puts the kibosh in like future investments. I think that like if you're a foreigner, you have money, you shouldn't invest in the United States. You shouldn't buy their bonds. You shouldn't buy their stocks. They are very despotic. Their government interferes in many business affairs or relations. There isn't much freedom there, and even if you are doing business with a foreign-based company, like in this case I was doing business with PayPal, then those companies, they can be manipulated or cajoled again like this. Well, when the British seized the Iranian tanker, then they were kind of mimicking, or they were listening to the stupid U.S. government. And then what happened next is that two of their tankers got confiscated. Well, this can happen to other companies, or it can happen to governments. I think that many companies or governments or foreign investors, they're gonna discover that hey, doing business with Americans is bad business, because these guys they are despotic. You cannot trust what they will do tomorrow. They might put a 10% tariff just on a tweet, and then tomorrow or the day after it might be 20%. So I had a video on confidence collapse, but I think that these stuff, these interferences in the market, interferences in transactions, they're really negative wealth generation. It means that the investors or people that have no relations whatsoever with the U.S. or the economy here, they lose confidence. They stop using the dollar. They stop using, systems that already were there, like PayPal, and then it kind of ricochet in other stuff. But what on the my psychic predictions for 2019, I predicted that United States will become like a resource for foreign companies that don't do these stupid things, and they do business like in a libertarian or capitalist way of very little regulation or interference or pumping of cheap cash. Then those are the companies that really are growing. Like foreign countries like Vietnam or China, and there is little growth in the United States. United States is going to become like just a resource that many foreigners benefit from. Many foreign countries, and it's not, I don't think the U.S. is a good investment place, and also there is every expectation that their currency might collapse. Well, actually, Peter Schiff talks about it, and he knows that this is happening, and kind of tries to warn the population. I don't know if that it really does much good. People cling on to what has been going on for a while. They're addicted to a certain kind of normalcy, and I don't think that will go on for a very long time. Well, there is some ways that the Americans can find new wealth. I think that the many American companies should engage in producing everyday products by using extreme automation or robotics and AI to make anything like clothes, shoes, household goods, plastic stuff. Okay, that's a lot of money that's seeping out into foreign countries. Then another way of generating real wealth right here, despite their economic system being so corrupt and so fixated on enriching the rich, is there is a lot of research and discoveries that the U.S. government or intelligence services have stuffed it into some drawer in Department of Defense, and bringing that research out and using it for population. One of the stuff they have been hiding it for a very long time is this devices like anti-gravity. The Germans had these devices, and it was discovered again by Tesla. This is very old discoveries, but it could be used in airplanes or rockets instead of using chemical propulsion. And this is not the only research that's out there. There is other research that you see evidence of this kind of production in like some ancient alien cities. You see that they use genetic manipulations to make new forms of humans. Like I think that many of these ancient sites, they were built by oversized humans. Somebody manipulated the genes of the humans and made large scale. So a large person or like giant can move or manipulate structures a lot better. Uh, they didn't use heavy machinery. Well, we humans, we use heavy machinery, but then what if you had a crew that were just very oversized individuals? You could do a lot of construction, and well, I think there's evidence that there were other humans, there were other kinds of humans that the genetic manipulation was at work, and they had oversized brains. And well, if you have extremely bright humans, a group of them, then you could do a lot of very interesting things. You don't need computers as much because they, these kinds of humans can do more. I could see some evidence for this because they had discovered skulls that were larger, and you don't have to do everything with computers. I think the other societies or civilizations, they 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 use the research and the findings that they already had to achieve what they wanted. Well, here in U.S., there is like a white upper class, and they are also very fixated on themselves, as if they are the pinnacle of creation, and God couldn't create anything better than them. So there is a lot of resistance to cloning or genetic manipulation, and other societies or other civilizations didn't have such, you know, such adoring attitude towards themselves. They could think that hey, we could have other forms of humans, other forms of even animals that could do specific tasks much better than the rest of us. Well, also I think that the new wealth generation is also going to come from robotics, that the robots could do a lot of household stuff, and like take care of patients, or do cleaning. These jobs, they will be lost, but somebody else, a machine could do a better job than that. Well, then a third kind of wealth generation is when the social or economic system changes, and people lose their animosity towards socialism, and there could be like basic income. So if you couldn't get a job because the robot has replaced you, well, you won't starve. You will have some money or some basic life, and then you could do something else that the machine couldn't do. Well, these are great ideas, but they might take longer in the United States because we're used to a certain kind of economic life. But I think in other countries like in Africa or Asia, these ideas will take hold, and they will be the beneficiary of the new wealth. Well, I was watching Press TV, and I see all the fantastic innovations Iran has had in weapons, in space technology, in even nanotechnology. It's amazing. They didn't have a choice. They had to go back to their own engineers and this is really where the wealth comes from engineers and technology, and also a little bit of desperation that the foreigners will do us nothing but harm, and we have to discover these resources or create them ourselves. Thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and leave your comment.